Hi guys, thanks for tuning into this video. If you're a new watcher, welcome to the channel. If you're an existing subscriber or watcher, thanks for joining in again. Today I would like to talk about my journey in terms of becoming a manager in consulting. And I've just gotten this promotion last year. The purpose of the video is to document this journey and share some considerations for others who are keen to become managers in their career, for others who are keen to join consulting, as I believe some of these considerations will help structure your career and greatly advance certain thinking points as well. I'll be structuring my content in 6 areas, starting with reflecting on the journey. Second is the new responsibilities. Third will be the skills for development. Fourth, on setting goals. Fifth, work-life balance. And lastly, advice for others. You can jump across the areas that you are more interested in. I'll start with reflecting on this journey. I've been in consulting for the last 6 years, having worked with PwC, EY, and an in-house team in HSBC. And currently I'm in Deloitte in Australia. And I just got promoted last year in July and have been in this role for the last 7-8 months. And this journey, as much as I want to say is easy, is pretty difficult in the sense that there were obstacles that I didn't expect. There were challenges that I couldn't solve by myself as well, which I require certain guidance from my coaches, from my leaders and so on. But I would like to structure this better in terms of sharing this journey. When I was a grad, everyone came in. The idea is to get promoted as quickly as you can. And I realized for those who are really quick on getting promoted, they already have the skill sets to perform at the next level. For example, if I'm a grad, I'm an analyst, trying to go to the next level, a senior or a consultant, you're really required to already have the skill sets that you have in the next level. And what I meant in terms of reflecting on this journey is that I noticed this pattern, and in order to fast track my career, I started looking at my seniors or my managers who already have the skill set to perform at the next level. By doing that, I think it made my career progression much smoother, and I was able to navigate the promotions in a smoother fashion. And I was grateful for it. And reflecting on the journey, I think one thing that I would like to call out to everyone is on the promotion cycles. Across the different consulting firms, they will have their own promotion cycles, and having knowledge of how the promotion cycles work is very beneficial. For example, if your promotion cycle is in June, noting that 6 months prior, there is a lot of pre-work to prepare in terms of ensuring you track off all the goals, ensuring you check in with your coaches and your counseling partners, ensuring you hit all the metrics or start tracking towards those. By having that awareness, even as you transition across different firms, you will ask the open question, when is your promotion milestone, so that I can plan my goals around it. And I'll come to the goals in the 4th section later, but having awareness of how the promotion cycles work will be beneficial. I'll elaborate in terms of the whole timeline for the promotion cycle briefly. As the start of the year, you will be setting goal, so that you can work towards that goal in multiple checkpoints throughout the year. Upon you setting the goal, maybe in the first 2 months, you will have a view in terms of what to work towards in the first 3 months, the first 6 months, 9 months, and the promotions. By having that view, it allows you to know whether you're ahead of plan or behind plan. And I would say that a lot of times, if you are already smoothly doing everything across the first 9 months, there shouldn't be an issue during the promotion month. That's the expectation that you should set with the consulting firm as well, with your partners, with your coaches. And that's how you can manage your career better. And now reflecting back, I would say one of the key things that is a bit more cliche is that a lot of the people that I met throughout this journey are the reasons that keep me going, as you will definitely face difficult clients, difficult problems. By having a team that is nicer, easy to work with, knowledgeable, it makes your life much easier. That is the key part on what I will talk about in terms of my journey, and I am grateful to be in this privileged position. Now reflecting on the next part, on the new responsibilities. So like I mentioned just now, in order for you to get a promotion easier, you should already be performing at the next level. So as a senior consultant, I have already demonstrated certain capabilities of a manager, and I have already demonstrated that I can perform at the next level, which is the manager level. By doing so, it makes my promotion much easier, and as I transition towards becoming a manager, I realize most of these responsibilities I'm already familiar with. But naturally, there are new responsibilities, and one of the key ones that I would like to talk about is about managing teams, client relationships, and project oversight. I'll start with managing teams. As a grad to a senior consultant, I believe most of you guys, or most of people who are in that position, already knows how to deliver an outcome. They are good at their job, they are able to do things on their own, they are able to execute based on the guidance given. But as you transition towards a manager, the idea is, are you able to deliver the same outcome through someone else? Am I able to deliver a deliverable that I think has to be in a certain way through someone else? And that is something that you have to learn as a manager. And if you're good at delegating or giving the right instructions, your life is much easier. I have to learn how to delegate properly without coming off too authoritative, without coming off too strong, or without coming off like I'm throwing all my work to someone else. And a few things that I can touch on about that is that you should always give the bigger picture of why that task is useful. And they say you have examples to show for it, that's the best case. So take example, I'm getting my team to prepare a lot of initial prep work for certain scenarios. And at the earlier stage, those scenarios are not very clear to them yet. By slowly reminding them all your work translates to a certain outcome, it gives them a view that their work is very useful, as some of the work that we're doing is a bit more mundane. But by composing all of those together, it brings up a key outcome, and that is very useful for managing your team. So I would say that in terms of new responsibility, managing team is a key outcome that I have to learn, and I'm still learning throughout this process. On the second part, client relationships. So I guess in the past, for some people, they are really used to managing relationships. They are able to navigate the client, they are able to build a relationship. But those are relationships that are less transactional. It is in the sense that if I'm a senior consultant on the project, I can just openly ask the client in terms of how they're going, ask about their family sometimes, or how was their weekend. But in terms of managing client relationships as a manager, in terms of more monetary, more transactional aspect, it's actually very difficult. And it's something that we have to proactively learn on how to manage. What I'm trying to explain is that as a manager, you are responsible for ensuring the project goes well. You are responsible for finding out options for extension if there is any. You're also responsible for coming up with solutions to certain problems, which you will get your team to explore. And those are the things that you have to navigate while navigating a client relationship. For example, a client would say that he or she is not happy with the deliverable. How do we manage that? How do we keep clients' confidence while ensuring the team is not impacted by those comments too greatly? And this is something that I am learning, and I'm slowly trying to learn from the leaders that I have. It's because if I'm very good at managing my client relationship in the sense that I have their confidence, I can almost go to them with any issues, openly call it out, and they won't be upset with me. They will be more in the sense that, thank you for bringing this issue to us, how can we solve it? And we can explore that together. And that is a very key thing on client relationships. It's not just about asking about their family, it's not about asking about their hobbies. You have to think from a transaction standpoint, what is something that they care about? What are the things that they have to solve in the next few weeks, next few months, or even the next few quarters? By thinking of those things, by thinking of their point of view, and by taking a stance in terms of how I can help make their life easier, that client relationship will be much more meaningful. You may not be as close to them as you want to be, but from a project delivery standpoint, you will have their confidence and the project will go well, and you are able to explore more projects, more issues, and so on. Those are the things that I would like to touch about in terms of client relationships. And lastly, on project oversight. When we say project oversight, occasionally certain managers you have to be across multiple projects. How do you ensure you have given sufficient oversight and still be able to work on other things, and still be able to not be considered someone who abandons their work? How do we navigate that? I think in the classic fashion, there's a lot of stand-ups or meetings where the team discusses what are they working on. Those are the more traditional classic way of managing this. One thing I want to call out is that instead of just having stand-ups where you explain exactly what you're working on, what outcomes you're working towards, and what are the meetings that you have to prepare for, what I've been trying to work towards is managing outcomes from a weekly basis. Let's say I have 3 or 4 members on my project. They each have their respective work stream to cover for. How do I ensure that they have sufficient oversight for me? I will pinpoint certain outcomes that I expect from each work stream for each week, and they can tell me whether it's reasonable and not reasonable. It's still similar to daily stand-up function or similar to the agile ways of working, but I want to highlight the outcome is the key thing. By having a very clear outcome for each work stream, they can think of what to do to achieve those outcomes. And to me, that is my way of ensuring the project has sufficient oversight from a managerial standpoint. And similarly, I cascade this upwards to highlight to the leadership that this is what my team is working towards. Is there any gaps? Is there any area that we should double click? Is there any area that I fail to consider? And those are the ways that I manage the project oversight This way, both the top to bottom has a view and the bottom to top through the middle managers will have sufficient oversight, and there's end-to-end traceability. And I think that is the key things that I want to call out in the new responsibilities. Maybe one more thing to touch on is that you actually have to try to think a bit more in terms of the career of your team members. So in the past, it's more just looking after their promotions, just looking after whether you're doing good in the project. Maybe it's important to start thinking about how do I ensure their career is going the way they want. What I meant by that is, in your one-on-one conversations with your team members, there should be more conversation outside just the classic consulting career. There should be more conversation about their interests, what are their career goals, what are areas that they really want to dive into but they have not had the chance. And with your experience, having 5 or 6 years of working experience, how would you advise that person based on your capacity? And I think that is a very crucial responsibility to uphold as a manager. And I think a lot of this overlaps with the skills to develop. I would like to touch on in terms of some of the things that I think are very crucial skills for a manager to succeed, such as leadership, communication, strategic thinking, and in some cases, technical knowledge. I'll start with leadership. Are you someone that your team members are willing to follow? That's one key point. How do you demonstrate the capability or the charismatic characteristics to lead the team? And this is evident. You can see there are team members that refuse to work with certain managers or certain leaders, and there are team members who prefer to work with certain managers or leaders. And by you trying to explore what kind of leader you want to be, that will help in your career a lot as a manager. In terms of communication, you can tell I have a Malaysian accent coming from Malaysia, and English is not my first language. But I am able to articulate or communicate to my team members in the way that they understand the ask, they know what I need, and they work towards that outcome. And this is something I constantly try to improve. I check in with them, was my explanation clear enough? Are you guys clear on what you guys have to do? And I often have retrospective sessions just to say, how can I do that better? In a presentation that I did to the client, how can I do a better job? How can I address those comments earlier? And those are the communication skills that are more crucial than just your pronunciation. Lastly, in terms of strategic thinking, your leaders, the directors, the partners, are looking to you for solutions as well. As much as the projects are brought in by the partners, the directors, they are looking towards you for certain thinking in terms of how to proceed. How should I fix this problem? Thanks for bringing me this issue. What is your proposed approach? And this is something that I fortunately have always been able to do. I've always been able to give my view in terms of how we should proceed in a structured manner. And this requires a lot of, I would say, training, and it requires a lot of mirroring your leaders or people who have demonstrated those capabilities. And I think that is a very key area of skill to develop. One last thing before we move to the next one is, as managers, besides the mandatory trainings that the firm is giving to your juniors, I believe a manager should spend some time thinking how to train their resources. Yes, it's more work. Yes, it's unnecessary. Yes, it's sometimes inaccurate for someone like me to give a training. But in my past experience of giving training to the team member on areas that I think are crucial, it has been beneficial for them and also for myself. I learned how to give a proper training. They learn additional stuff on top of what is provided by the firm. And hopefully that helps. Moving on to the next one is on setting goals. So I think in order to be able to navigate getting promoted smoothly, your goal can't just be, I want to get promoted. It has to be very specific with outcome that you're trying to achieve by a certain date. Let's say for me to get a promotion, I would say, I would like to expand my knowledge in a certain area by a certain date. And I would like it to be in this level where it's no longer just a junior entry level. It has to be an intermediate capacity so that I can use my knowledge to guide my juniors and also the client. That goal reflects me trying to be better in a certain area by a certain time. It reflects me trying to fix an issue for a client. And it reflects me being more useful to the firm. And that translates to getting promoted. And by having similar goals, maybe 3 or 4 goals that articulate how you can be better and more useful to the firm in a transactional fashion, how you can demonstrate this ability to the client and to your junior team members, I believe those are the elements that helps one get promoted. So next time in setting your goals, especially career goals, think of it in the fashion of how can this benefit myself, my team and the firm. And in terms of setting personal goals, you can adopt a similar fashion but just be firm to highlight whether this is short-term or long-term goals. Those are the areas in terms of setting goals. Now, this is a more contentious part, which is the work-life balance. Having worked in consulting for the last 6 years, there are years or there are months that are much more intense, and there are certain projects that are much more acceptable. I've worked in Southeast Asia for the first 4 years of my career, and there are certain days where I have to work 9 to 12 a.m. and it may sound ridiculous, but in consulting, or when you're growing in the consulting capacity, usually those are the hours that we have to pull in order to be better, in order to match the client's expectation, as well as the firm's expectation. Having moved to Australia, where the priority is more on work-life balance, naturally this has been much better. I've been able to work much shorter hours compared to my time in Southeast Asia, which is a very good change and transition. But one thing I would like to call out is that there's a balance metrics that everyone can adopt. If you would like your career to be much quicker, to advance your career in a much quicker fashion, you have to sacrifice a bit of work-life balance. As much as you would like to have the best of both worlds, I believe a balanced metric is that you have to give up a bit of your work-life balance to ensure your career gets advanced quicker. By giving up or by prioritizing work-life balance, your career will take a slight step back. As much as you guys, or some of you guys may disagree, I imagine initially at the start of your career, you have to prioritize career, so that means sacrificing some of your work-life balance so that you can achieve a better position in your career, achieve a better skill set, having a better understanding of a certain topic, be able to create much more value. Once you have that view, and the example, I have built that in Malaysia, having moved to Australia, yes, I still have to pull long hours on certain days based on the projects, based on the proposals, but naturally, because I've already processed those skill sets in the past, I'm able to prioritize my work-life balance much more, and my career still is advancing, which is evident by me getting promoted. And that is my sharing on the work-life balance topic. I believe it's a balancing item, and people who preach that you can have both work-life balance and career advancement, I believe that is a minority case for most people, and there are things that you have to give up to achieve those things. Lastly, on the advice for others, especially for those who want to become a manager, I think one of the lessons learned that I want to call out is that first impression really matters. As much as you think that I have time to grow, I have time to expand my skill, that is true, but your first impression is very key. So for those who are just starting their career, or for those starting their career in a new firm, or for those who are pushing to go for promotion, in your catch-ups, in your connections with others, and in your meetings or presentations, think about what kind of impression you're giving someone. Are you articulating a professional aspect in terms of how you should be doing so? Are you being clear in terms of what you want? Are you setting a good impression in terms of you're a very likable person? Those are the things that you have to think about. As much as some people think it's just common sense, by actually thinking about it, you can pinpoint areas that you have improvement and work on those. So first impression is very key as a lesson learned. Another one will be spend the extra effort to develop your skill. You have 9 to 5, which you're occupied with your work day to day. It is an encouraged element from my end to spend some time outside work to develop your skills. For example, if you're not good at Excel, I strongly encourage someone to spend an extra 1 hour weekly to expand on their skill. You're spending 1 hour extra on a weekly basis, which will make your work much quicker, your life much easier. And similarly, if let's say your understanding of certain topics is very weak, read up about those topics in your free time. You will still have work-life balance, you will still have a life, but by having extra initiative to do those things, your life will be much easier. So that's on lesson 2. Lesson 3, nothing is permanent, I would say. Having worked in consulting for 6 years, I've seen many people move around. I've seen many leadership change. I've seen myself navigating a few companies. Be open to change. Nothing is permanent. The idea is that you shouldn't be afraid to navigate change. It should be something that is comfortable. You should be willing to explore the change, learn how to adapt, see the better version of yourself through those changes. And I think those 3 lessons learned are the key ones that I would like to share. One thing I would like to call is a lot of these things that I'm talking about, I'm just highlighting based on what I think makes sense. And I have a very simple draft that I'm referring to. And naturally, this is not Missy. It doesn't consider everything. But those are the areas that I hope you guys enjoy me talking about. And hopefully, this will be useful in your journeys to become managers or leaders in your career. And if you enjoy the videos, hopefully hopefully you can drop me a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.